And we're joined by Grant Cardone. Grant, you there?
Yeah.
Hello. Welcome to the Thomas Hayes-Morrison Show. Let me just tell people who you are. He's a international sales expert, among other things, and an author, and he's very well recognized, if you will, motivational speaker and a New York Times best-selling author. And you've probably seen him on Fox or NBC, MSNBC. That's interesting. And the Business Insider. Let me tell you why I asked Grant to be on. He's written 4 books. The latest is 10X. And he had a chapter in there that caught my attention. Actually, Sherry McKnight, the producer for today, pointed out breaking out of the middle class. And let me just read just a couple lines. Grant said, "Please don't take offense at what I write in this chapter. I know many of you have spent your whole life trying to get to the middle class, and I'm about to tell you it's the wrong goal." This is where we have a disagreement with President Obama, Grant. How did this happen? You want to tell us about breaking out of the middle class?
Yeah, I think, the reason I say that, first of all, I want to thank you for having me on the show and thinking enough of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
My message there is, look, I was brought up to adore the middle class. My family was inspired to get in the middle class. My dad worked to his last days. He died when he was 52, a young man. But him and my mother, their inspiration in life was to be in the middle class and to create that safe place for their kids. But if you look over the last 25 years, if people are willing to really get honest with themselves, what you'll see is the middle class is really a place of pain today. It is not a place of pleasure or safety. And so what I'm telling people is, look, the middle class that your parents and grandparents built, that they were inspired to create, is no longer what the government, Mr. Obama, or any politician basically tells you that it is. It is not a place of safe haven and security. It is a place of diminishing returns, insecurity, and it's a whipping board for America today.
Let me ask you to define middle class for our discussion here.
Well, that's a great question because and clarification. The middle class. When I talk about the middle class, I'm not just talking about an income level.
Right. Yeah.
Even though we could be.
Right.
Most people say that when you associate middle class with finances, it's somewhere between $40,000 a year and $110,000.
Right.
When you get above that, you're out of the middle class somehow, and when you get below that, you're below the 40. You're in poverty. I'm not really talking about income. I'm talking about the way a person thinks.
Sure.
And the way they operate. The middle class was based on just enough. I'm going to save just enough, make just enough, and then I'm going to earn money at the bank, and then if I do that long enough, then maybe one day I'll have something. The problem with that calculation is you end up being an old man or old woman with no time left over, but more money than you have time.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not working for so many people today. The average person's not going to spend 35 years in the same house like your parents did.
No, that's a really good point. Actually, I would interject that my wife and I had an opportunity to take our 3 young children sailing for a couple of years. We sold our house, sold a business, got on our boat, and went to the Caribbean. And the thing that struck us was the high number of older couples for whom sailing around in the Caribbean was a lifelong dream, but they'd waited too long. One of them got sick or whatever, and it was a sort of cultural thing. And I've now been the Pied Piper for the last 20 years, telling people, go now. You can always get a job when you come back.
Yeah, right. And you see that, and that's what we're telling people. Like, there's a lot of mythology in the middle class. One is the average financial planner in America is going to tell you, look, if you want a secure life, you need about 3 months of savings.
Right.
And I'm like, 25 years I've been studying successful people and financially well-off people. Look, you don't need 3 months. You need 30 months.
I just heard the whole audience go,
Yeah, but it's a miscalculation because just in this last downturn, when you're watching a government that cannot tell people the truth, that is unwilling to make the right moves and tell people the reality of the situation, You have people that have been out of work for 2 years.
Right, and I think for the first time that I can remember, that much of the pain has been felt by people we would call middle class. They're middle managers, they're small business owners, and what have you. And it's like, and you're right, it's been years. People are going years.
Yeah, and when you have contractions, it's not the lowest paid people that get hit.
No. Yeah, no.
It's either the above average paid people that get hit, that get whacked first.
Sure.
Because that's where a company can start saving the most money.
So is there hope for the middle class?
Yeah, there is. There is absolutely. There's hope because, America's a growing population of people, and America is still adored by the world. But the rules are definitely different. You have to play by a different set of rules today. Like the house, the home was a place for the last 25 years where it was the American dream, literally centered around owning a home.
Right.
That probably doesn't exist anymore.
Well, that's an interesting point.
Yeah, that would not be a place where I would put money today, in a house. It's never been a place to make money.
Right.
It was only perceived, or people started equating homes and money because my dad kept the same house for 35 years. So by the time he retired or died, in his case, he had some equity built up in this house. And so people thought, millions of people started thinking, a home is a good investment. A home is one of the worst investments you'll make in your lifetime.
Why do you say that?
Because it doesn't pay you. It costs too much money to keep it up, and you have money trapped in it. And if you're in that part of the cycle where you need to leave,
right,
but you can't, like so many millions of people today, you can't. It traps you. And,
absolutely.
The financially well-to-do today, above the middle class, need freedom. You need freedom to be able to move and go to other states and go to other parts of the country. And when governments start making bad decisions like they did in California, I just 6 months ago, I got up out of California, moved all my businesses, all my finances, my home, everything, because they raised the taxes on me again. I'm like, I'm done.
Where'd you go?
You want to be nimble. I'm in Miami now.
Are you really?
I'm in Florida. And people ask me, how you like Florida over California? I like it 13.3% better.
Yeah, right. You and Tiger Woods and what's his name, Mickelson
and
or whatever.
Phil will be coming, I guarantee you.
He just won't be talking about it, which is the age we're in. Now, that is interesting, which maybe let's talk about what to do. I agree with your analysis of the traditional middle class as a goal, and I think the numbers have moved up, and I agree with you. It's probably 40 to 120 or even more to be middle class. And what do you do? You've obviously voted with your feet. I didn't realize that, Grant. I don't know why I didn't pick up on that when I was prepping for you to be on. So here's somebody, folks, that not only is making suggestions, but he's taking the action. So what do you? If the middle class is not a good goal, Grant, what's the goal?
The goal is, and some people are going to find this distasteful when I say it.
Welcome to the Thomas Hayes-Morrison Show.
Yeah, the goal is get rich.
Okay.
The only solution, the middle class is not a safe haven.
Right.
Okay, just if you really take a look at it, if people are willing to look at the truth.
Right.
The poverty in this country is growing. Well, everybody's like, oh, my God, it is? Yeah. Well, where do you think it's coming from? It's not because the people in poverty are having more babies.
Right.
It's because people in the middle class are falling off the edges.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
And why? Because they're operating on a formula that no longer works. See, things can work for a long time, and then one day, hey, it just doesn't work anymore.
Exactly.
And the thing that your dad did, your dad did this. He saved money. His whole premise was saving. Look, that doesn't work today. You got to make money today to have any to save. Also, your dad and my mom and my dad, they earned 8, 9, 10, 12%. Some of them earn 15 and 18% at the banks.
Right.
You're earning 0.15% at the bank. It would take you, what is that? I don't know, about...
I can't even do that in my head. I don't know.
It's like 12 years to earn the same interest my dad earned in 1 year.
Yeah.
So see, saving's not the deal. It's Susie Orman tells you, save money. Well, okay, I need to make some money to save some money.
Well, I think what you're really raising is the issue. What do you do with your resources? Do you put them into something that is static, or do you put them into something that will give you growth and create wealth? And I suppose it's money and it's time and it's focus, right? Where do I put my time? Do I go play golf, or do I work on Saturday afternoon on my own business or my own deal? Yes?
I have a simple way to answer that question.
Okay.
I play golf.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm playing golf with people that could make me money or expand my business,
right.
I don't go play golf with a buddy just to have a good time anymore.
Yeah, that clarifies what I was saying. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Me and my wife don't go to dinner just to have dinner. Me and my wife won't go spend $100 at dinner. We'll go spend $500 at dinner. Because we're bringing people with us that could actually make us $50,000 this year.
Right.
And that needs to be the thinking of people today. The thinking needs to be get rich.
Yeah.
The exact thing. Like if you look up rich on the if you search rich today and look up images, half the images that come up are going to be Mitt Romney. Because the liberal media is attacking the rich so hard.
I know.
Why? What is the agenda? Is it bad to be rich? Is it bad to be successful? There's an agenda to keep people away from having the American dream and freedom.
Well, I couldn't agree more. That's one of the themes of my show, and I point out probably ad nauseum that we are separating into and have separated into two groups, one of which believes in equal opportunity, the other in equal outcome. And what you're seeing is the pillaring of the people who are still for equal opportunity. You'll notice that Al Gore, who is apparently worth substantially more at this point than Mitt Romney.
Exactly what I was thinking about when you said that.
Yeah. You don't see him being criticized.
Yeah.
And basically go on.
Yeah, because he plays the card. You see, he plays the game different. He says, if you just notice, the groups that beat the drum for the middle class,
right.
The more they beat the drum, the worse it gets for the middle class.
Right. Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more.
The black voter in America is a perfect example. They continue to vote Democratic,
right. Yeah.
Thinking that they're going to be protected, yet over the last 6 years, the position of the African American in this country, the financial position, has gotten worse.
Oh, it's incredible how much worse, actually. It's their net worth is off by way more than 50%, and the joblessness is really difficult to comprehend. And you never hear about that unless you're paying attention. Let me ask you a question. Can you stay on for another segment?
Sure.
Okay, we'll do that. And when we come back, maybe we'll talk about the solution. I was taken with the 10X rule, and I'm assuming it's 10X and not 10 times rule. Yes? It's gone. Okay. All right. You're listening to Thomas Hayes-Morrison on Star 99.5 Radio Free Florida. If you'd like to join us toll free, 888-787-8023. We'll be right back. We're back. You're listening to Thomas Hayes-Morrison on the Star 99.5. We are Radio Free Florida. If you'd like to join us toll free, 888-787-8023. Where I'm with Grant Cardone, a very well-known motivational speaker, author, and often on Fox Business and NBC and what have you. Grant, still there? You back?
Yes, sir.
It's technology. So we talked a bit about the middle class. I couldn't agree more with what you're saying, also about the investment strategy. But what's the solution? And I'm looking at, and I asked you as we were going off, I'm sorry, we cut you off a little early there. Is it 10X or 10 times rule?
It's 10X.
Okay. So what's your solution from reading your book here, your solution is the 10X rule, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what is that?
And the first part of that is this. Number one, whatever income you're making now,
right.
you have to figure out your number one action needs to be to increase your income. If you're making $40,000 a year, you have to figure out, and I know this sounds simplistic, but nothing's going to happen until a person makes a decision.
Right.
A person has to make a decision. I have to get my income from 40 to 60. So the first move would be this. I'm going to go from 40 to 60. Now, if you think you can't do that, I'll promise you will not increase your income.
Right, yeah.
And so the way I get a person to wrap their head around this, okay, if they're going from 80 to 100, whatever the number is,
right.
40 to 60, 60 to 80,
right.
The way to wrap your head around this is this. Okay, if I go from 40 to 60, would the world still be all right? I mean, if I got paid another $20,000 this year, would anybody know anything happened?
Right.
Okay. Look, you could go from $40,000 a year to $40 million, and nobody would know an event took place.
Interesting.
That's how much money there is in the universe.
Sure,
People need
absolutely.
to understand there's so much money.
Right.
Just look at what the government wastes every year.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they get away with it. So the first thing to do is make a decision. My solution is not saving. My solution is not investing. My solution is to make more money. That means a second job or getting better at the job you're at, or maybe you're a receptionist and you go to your boss and say, hey, how do I get involved in sales here?
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Because salespeople are always valuable.
Oh, absolutely.
No matter where you go.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I teach in a small college. I'm an adjunct, teach at night in a small college, and people, 60% minorities, 80% single women. And I am the biggest supporter of sales. They're the only truly independent people. Everybody needs them. They're the pointy end of the stick. And,
right.
Of course, when you go home and tell your aunt you just spent 3 days with 5 people that make $500,000 a year selling fill in the blank, what does she say? Oh, honey, do they give you benefits? And then she says, you know what? Maybe your Aunt Mary down at the county can get you a job. Right?
Yeah.
But sales is the way. I couldn't agree more. Or another job.
And you see, that's more of the myths of the middle class, like, oh, I got to be a doctor or I have to be a stockbroker. No, what you have to do is you have to understand that you're not going to ever be paid anything of value. This last election just showed me that most people just want scraps.
Yeah.
Dependable scraps.
Well, that's, security.
Yeah, or whatever. I mean, that's not security. That's just scraps, right? They just want leftovers because that's all anybody's getting if you're on a program.
Let me.
So, go ahead.
Go on. I was going to say. Let me ask you. Let me ask you.
I was just going to say that there's nothing you're going to get in your life if you don't understand your own value in the marketplace.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you're not going to identify it, nobody else is going to identify it for you. It's not like somebody's going to come to you and say, you know what, I think you're worth more money.
Yeah. They're not. You're right. You've got to be your own best proponent, and you got to be willing to do the work. The question I was going to ask you is maybe not a fair question in a way, but you do seminars and what have you, right?
That's right.
Yeah, you do seminars. And actually, let me just ask the question, and I want you to give people your information because I think people should look, grantcardone.com, the books. But of the people that take your seminars, do you have any sense of how many actually take your advice? Get a second job or do whatever?
Yeah, the people that come to my seminars are paying to come to them.
Right.
So
that's true.
They happen to take the advice pretty well. I fly tonight to Birmingham to speak to 15 people in a company. Right. And if I told you what they were paying for me to come up there, you'd be like, "Oh, they're committed."
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I expect that they will take the advice because they've made a commitment to it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a really great point. Let me ask you this. I want to a number of things in 10X caught my attention, but there's one I really got my attention. Obsession isn't a disease; it's a gift. I get criticized from time to time for being obsessed. You want to talk about that for just a couple seconds?
Well, yeah, congratulations if you are.
I am. You're listening to it.
I've had people tell me I was obsessed, compulsive.
Right.
I've had people tell me I had ADHD and all this stuff. I'm like, do you really believe in that stuff?
Yeah.
And they're like, what do you mean, man? I can't ever get your attention. I said, well, that's your problem. It's not my disease.
Great answer. I'm going to steal it.
I have 15 other things I find more interesting than you right now. That don't make me wrong because I'm not interested in what you have to say right now because you haven't gotten my interest. And you see, the point of that is this: it's a very noisy world.
Yeah.
The world is full of noise.
Right.
If you were trying to get something done 3 weeks ago when Sandy Hook went off, is that the name of the school, Sandy Hook?
Yeah.
If you were trying to get a job that week, or you were trying to get a promotion, or you were out into the marketplace trying to sell some idea, the week Sandy Hook took place, that threw everything in the back seat because everybody's attention went to that.
Sure.
If you were trying to, push something to the marketplace when 9/11 happened, all bets were off the table because nobody was paying attention to you anymore.
Yeah, good point.
And the point is, your competition today is the noise of the world. And if you're going to make something happen, you have to be obsessed.
Well,
you have to be so convinced, because in the 10X rule I talk about, look, the challenges and the obstacles, you can never put them on a business plan.
Yeah.
You will underestimate
Absolutely.
the problems, the challenges, and the difficulties by at least 10.
Right, exactly. And, you really are supporting what I certainly have been taught all my life is that don't quit. Most people quit.
Yeah.
You don't quit. Focus and quit. And I would tell you, my show is an example in a small way. We started out. We have a small radio station here in Gainesville, which is the University of Florida and what have you. And now, partly because of Tony McKnight, or big part because of Tony McKnight and his technical expertise, but we have a nationwide audience. And
wow, that's great.
And we do this for real. And it's that obsession. And people say, God, you're obsessed with doing it. I say, no, that's what I'm doing. And my goal is to have an audience that I have something to say, and it comes from obsession. I'm watching the clock, Grant. Let me ask you to do this. How do people find you? And what do you do?
They can go, well, if your audience uses Twitter, you can find me at Grant Cardone.
Uh-huh.
That's my handle there.
All right.
I'm extremely active there. It's a great place for people to get information to kind of like squash some of the false information you're getting 10,000 times a day.
Right.
Or you can just find me by going to grantcardone.com, which is my website.
Right. And you have, I signed up for a newsletter this morning, I think. Maybe I signed up to go to Birmingham. I don't know.
No. You can sign up for that. It's a free newsletter.
Right.
It's cardonesuccess.com.
There you are. And I really appreciate you being on. I couldn't agree more. Middle class, it's a distraction. Focus, energy, and don't quit. And where you invest is important. It's got to make you money. And it answers some of the questions. How are we going to prosper in an age that's discouraging prosperity? So I appreciate you being on, and hopefully we can do it again. Grant Cardone.
Yeah.
All
Thank you so much.
Thank you again. You're listening to Thomas Hayes-Morrison on the Star 99.5 Radio Free Florida. If you'd like to join us, toll free, 888-787-8023. We'll be right back.